I have to admit that I find rules, specifically sports rules, very interesting. And what interests me is the slight differences between different sports and how it affects the way the game is played. The obvious example would be the difference in scoring between tennis, squash, maybe even table tennis, and something we have over here where I live in the Basque Country called escupolota, which is Basque handball. And they play to 21. It's you win the point, you serve, you lose the point, you win the point, you serve, but you also get that point. A bit like, point per rally in squash. Whereas in tennis, you've got this system of the games and the sets, and then you play to 4 points, but there has to be two difference. And then in badminton, it's the same kind of idea as like escupolota, up to 21. Is it up to 21 or is it up to 11? Okay, that's making me look a bit silly there. And table tennis is incredibly interesting for me because you've got like 5 serves and then the other person gets 5 serves. So I love this whole how the scoring system changes makes a difference. And I actually made a video, which I'll link to up here and also in the text description, about scoring challenges that you can play when you're playing squash to see things in a different way. Anyway, back to my original point, the point about the scoring and the rules, how the rules make a difference to the game. And this week's question is simply, what is one thing that you would change about squash? Now, for many people, it could be the scoring. For others, it could be the ball. I mean, we talked about, whether we should have just one type of ball. Don't know whether even that's technically possible. Anyway, for me, the simplest one in terms of remembering clubs, like changing the height of the tin is a huge problem for squash clubs and facilities. Building new equipment, building new balls, different rackets, and we'll come back to rackets in a moment, but I think the simplest one would be to get rid of the cut line. I think getting rid of the cut line seems like a really easy change and would open up a whole new way of playing the sport. Suddenly you could hit these very hard and low serves. I think that would really make things interesting. I mean, people would still hit the high ones because hitting high backends is difficult, but you could hit the ball really hard and low. And I think that just ripping the tape off on the front wall would be very cheap. Might even make maintenance of the courts cheaper because you wouldn't have to worry about putting the tape up. Okay, it's not much, but fine. All right, so that would be my choice. My choice would be get rid of the cut line and let people serve any way they want to, as long as it's into the back quarter and it hits the front wall first. Yeah, okay. Now, as far as rackets are concerned, and I'll be exploring this idea in some other videos in the future, did you know that we have a maximum weight? There's a maximum weight of a squash racket. Why? How much more fun would it be if you had a racket that weighed 1 kilo? Yeah, I know, lifting it up and hitting it would be like really hard. But I understand why there's a minimum. In fact, I think there is a minimum. Oh man, I'm really making myself embarrassed now. I'm not sure. I was reading the rules recently. Don't know if there is a minimum, but there's definitely a maximum. And there's a maximum size. And I kind of wonder whether we should just get rid of all of the rules related to rackets. Some of the rules are quite interesting. For example, it has to be symmetrical. If you draw a line down here, your racket has to be symmetrical. You can't have any strange shapes that are asymmetrical. The stringing has to be in one plane. It can't be like 2 layers or anything like that. I don't know what the benefit of that would be. Or maybe you could have it going diagonal. Oh, okay. I'm getting excited now. So another idea would just be to get rid of all of the rules related to rackets. People can have anything they want. And of course, it's a balance then, isn't it? Because if you have a very heavy racket, you can hit the ball really hard, but you've got no flexibility or maneuverability. You can't play these volleys. If you have an incredibly light racket, you can reach all of these shots and swing, but you don't necessarily have the power. So, I don't know, that might be my second choice, to get rid of the rules related to rackets. And if I had to go one extreme, I might say that there had to be only one racket. Everybody has to play with the same racket. Yeah, I know, it doesn't make any sense because there's all of the manufacturers. But maybe they have to make a racket that's a specific weight and it has to have a specific balance and everybody has the same. And that's that. That might be a strange rule, but fine. So back to my original question. What's the one thing that you would change about squash that you think would make it more interesting? Now, it might be something that just benefits you. For example, you really want the cut line to be much higher. Fine, okay. You want the service line to be changed because you've got really good service. I don't know. Anything that you want, go absolutely crazy with your ideas, and we'll talk about it and see what happens. On the screen at the moment, somewhere up here, is a playlist of all of the other questions for you to look at, and probably down here somewhere is another video that YouTube thinks is a really good fit for you, and probably down here is a subscription button. If and only if you think my content is useful, please consider subscribing. And remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya.